Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of RevOps Demos That Don't Suck, where we take product demos with some of the most kind of innovative and helpful solutions that are out there in the market so that you don't have to, and you can get a sense of what these tools and what some of these kind of cutting edge products do before you kind of commit and start to evaluate on your own. And so today I'm with Caitlin, who is a solutions engineer over at Ironclad. And Ironclad is one of the leading contract management platforms that is out there, has millions of users across the world, some really impressive kind of companies and brands that leverage them from MasterCard to DoorDash to Dropbox. But I'm not going to kind of go into the whole spiel on Ironclad. That's why we're here talking to Caitlin. But Caitlin, before we get into the demo and you start to tell us more about the product, I guess give us maybe a quick overview on yourself personally and professionally, and then give us a little bit of a high level on Ironclad before I start to pepper you with a whole bunch of questions.
Sure. Great to be here today. Like Matt said, my name's Caitlin, and I'm a solutions engineer here at Ironclad. I come to you from Colorado, born and raised here. So that's from a personal perspective. From a professional perspective, I actually started my career in accounting as a CPA, made the transition over to working in technology and being a solutions engineer. I've been at Ironclad about 18 months now and really enjoyed my time here. At Ironclad, we power the world's contracts. So after nearly a decade in business, we've processed over 1 billion contracts on the platform. And that could be from highly negotiated, very complex contracts all the way through to click to accepts on some of the most popular shopping sites. So it's likely that you've agreed to an Ironclad contract without even knowing it.
Nice. I don't think I mentioned this before, Caitlin, but we actually share the fact that we both started our professional careers in public accounting.
That's great.
CPA as well on the audit side, and so we can leave those conversations and call it the fact that we're both recovering accountants. That's how I like
That's
to.
right.
We can share that to later, but before we get into more on the product and everything that the solution does, I always like to start with the problem. So what are some of those problems, those pain points that folks in revenue operations who, again, when it comes to sales prospect sort of agreements, are maybe dealing with today that, again, something like Ironclad will solve for? Like, what are those things that people are going through, maybe experiencing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month sort of basis that hurt, that you all can help with?
Yeah, so I think the problem that we solve for overall is pretty simple. Over the past 20 years or so, businesses have gotten a lot smarter, a lot more complex, and also more distributed. So you have different departments trying to work together, all trying to figure out how to make those disparate systems talk to one another. Sales and legal often work closely together when they're trying to get contracts with prospects over the finish line. And oftentimes that's really difficult, right? There's things happening via email, phone calls, a lot of back and forth where visibility is lost. And legal teams working with sales tend to be stretched thin, so they become the bottleneck in the process. So the problem that we at Ironclad are solving for is really allowing sales to be self-sufficient, only looping in legal when absolutely necessary, and really making that process more efficient so that we can recognize revenue more quickly.
Yep. And yeah, revenue recognition and obviously getting that stuff on the books fast can make a big difference when it comes to revenue growth and yeah, just the initial kind of onboarding experience for new customers. So makes total sense. Those are things that obviously people in revenue operations experience every single day because sales folks are out there trying to close new business every single day. And so if those are some of the problems that you all solve for, maybe before we get into some of the use cases that you walk through on the product, what's the kind of the TLDR on Ironclad? How do you all solve for some of those problems that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so I think there's a few ways that we do that. It allows stakeholders to create and execute contracts fast. This could be all types of contracts. So really, we're contract agnostic here at Ironclad. Today, we're focused on really the sales side and revenue operations. So it allows you to work with Salesforce or with your system of record to get those contracts created quickly and negotiated quickly. Ironclad also allows you to ensure compliance across all of your agreements. So that could be through negotiation. That could also be agreements that are stored in your repository. And because it's built on a digital standard, it allows you to have complete and accurate data. So the ability to unlock that contract data and make business decisions based upon it.
Yeah. So maybe, see, I guess let's get in more of that. I know you've got kind of some product screens and things that you can show us to pull up on the screen and maybe walk us through some use cases. But I definitely have some more questions on some of the things that you brought up. But maybe start with some of the popular RevOps, SalesOps related use cases and walk us through some of those.
Yeah, so one of the items that we'll walk through today is that click to accept functionality. So public facing workflows. If I'm a salesperson and I need to get my prospect under NDA so that we can easily proceed with the rest of the sales process, I can actually send a link to my counterparty or even embed it somewhere on my website. They can fill in their information, immediately be presented with an NDA on our internal template and click to accept that. And the sales team can manage that all themselves, so not having to involve other stakeholders in the business and proceed very quickly. We'll also walk through the integration that we have with Salesforce, so how the two interact together. Sales team lives there, that's what they're familiar with and comfortable with, so they can go through, fill out some basic information, and the data from their quote or their opportunity can automatically flow down into the contract. So creating the order form and the associated MSA. Again, only involving legal if absolutely necessary. So within Ironclad, you can set some guardrails for your sales team for them to operate within. But then if we're negotiating something high stakes or with a large company where legal does need to be involved, that's where they come into play. We'll also touch on the repository. So once a contract is signed and stored, how do we unlock those insights to look at ROI for the business and avoid contract leakage? So we're looking at things like renewals, user count, things like that within the repository. So getting ahead of those things from a sales perspective and renegotiating those terms with your customers, and you have the data and visibility to be able to do so.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so it sounds like maybe we'll start with the NDA kind of example. I know I've been there before on the RevOps and the BizOps side, where and actually on the sales side as well, where especially some of those larger either like enterprise sort of deals, or I know before when I was in healthcare technology and kind of working on some new things, a lot of the first step, right? And it's kind of a way to also ensure that there's a willingness to move forward is getting some sort of NDA signed. And at least in my experience in the past, it's been some sort of manual process. Sales rep is like, hey, we need an NDA sent over to customer XYZ. Me being the VP of BizOps will like get that, get our template spun up. I'll send it through DocuSign. It gets signed. I'll let the sales rep know that it's been signed. I'll manually attach it to, the opportunity record or something in Salesforce. Lots of unnecessary steps and actions. I'm guessing what you're going to show us now is maybe a little simpler and less complex than that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the goal here really is self-service, allowing the sales team to work quickly, reducing that friction to get those contracts drafted more quickly. There's less manual effort required, less back and forth with other stakeholders. So that's what we'll dive into now.
Nice.
All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. I'll flash the Ironclad dashboard here to start. This is really the landing page for people working in the platform, tracking all contracts that are in flight. These are updating in real time. So as requests are coming through from the sales team, or as other contracts are being requested, they have visibility into the status, what's the latest activity that's been taken, and everyone can keep a pulse on that in real time. We'll walk through this in more detail relatively soon, but we'll toggle over to that public NDA. So this is just a URL. So the sales team can send a link to this URL, or again, it could be embedded on a website, but this just gives the counterparty the ability for them to fill in their details. They'll be presented with that contract, and then they can click to accept it. That'll be stored in the Ironclad repository so that the internal stakeholders have visibility into what contracts have been executed. And then the counterparty will be given the ability to save a record for themselves as well. So I'll go ahead and enter my information here.
And are the fields that you're able to put on here kind of customizable depending on obviously what your NDA looks like?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So this NDA is built on a template that we have internally. The fields I'm filling in here will automatically draft into that contract. And the fields that you have on this form are entirely customizable by you. So this might vary use case to use case. Of course, it'll vary company to company, but you have the ability to determine what fields are on this intake form. You can even provide options for your counterparty as well, of course, within certain guardrails. I'm going to select California here. And then once we submit this, that's when it's going to generate the contract. You can also add helpful text like you see here, so we can see California is preferred. Really, the goal is to make this as simple as possible for the end user. So once we submit this, it's going to generate the contract based on those inputs that I provided. We'll be presented with that, can review that NDA directly on screen, and then just click to accept it. So it'll draft, you'll see the date that we put in, all the other information is also in here, and then I can just click to agree here below. So that was very simple. Sales team just had to send that out to their counterparty, and they can easily get that NDA drafted and signed.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, it seems very easy. It eliminates all the back and forth that I know I've experienced in the past. And I know you mentioned kind of the next thing that we'll be looking at is some of the integration between like Salesforce and Ironclad. And so with things like these, where again the prospect is say a contact in the CRM, is does this NDA then get kind of linked to that contact record, or that the opportunity record that might exist? Is there any integration there?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. So this will automatically go to the Ironclad repository, but if you also want to store completed records on the Salesforce opportunity or the quote, you definitely have the ability to send it back to Salesforce and have it stored there. That way sales has everything in one place and they don't have to leave the Salesforce interface.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks great. And so you mentioned, so yeah, actually, I guess on that topic, you said, obviously, the NDA use case is prevalent as you go through the prospecting stage. So let's say, whether it's with Proterra Labs or whoever we had here. Now, let's say we're actually, through the sales process and we're kind of at the contracting or negotiation stage, and I need to get, some agreements signed, negotiated, kind of do whatever I can to get that deal closed. What's that use case kind of look like with Ironclad?
Yeah, great question. So let's toggle over now to Salesforce. So I'm actually on a quote here, and you'll see the Ironclad workflow object over here on the right-hand side. So our integration with Salesforce is very flexible, and we are listed on the Salesforce App Exchange. So it's very intuitive to get this integration set up, very easy to maintain. Can also launch the workflow from any object within Salesforce. So we have some customers that are just using like opportunity information. We have some customers that are using Salesforce CPQ. We have some customers that are using custom objects. So you can use the Ironclad workflow object in relation to any of those. So we'll go through a quote example today. And when the sales team is ready to get a contract in place with a customer, they can come directly to the Ironclad workflow object here and launch that from the button. From the drop down here, they'll have a list of contracts that they're able to launch. This is a demo environment, so there's a few options here. You might just give them one option. So it might just be an order form and an MSA here. Keep in mind that you can maintain all of your Salesforce approvals ahead of being able to launch this contract. So if you needed to have your quote approved before you allow your sales team to launch this contract, that is entirely possible. So we'll go ahead and get that order form selected and then launch the workflow. When the salesperson does this, they'll be brought to what we call a launch form. Ultimately, it's a guided intake form to gather the information necessary to draft version 1 of that contract and loop in the appropriate approvers. When you're integrated with Salesforce, much of that data comes over automatically. So again, making sure that it's efficient for the sales team to be able to do this with just a couple of clicks. It also helps with data integrity. What lives within Salesforce is ultimately what gets drafted into the contract. So in this example, we're just pulling in customer info. Again, all of this has already been filled in from information that lives within Salesforce. You can also lock fields down. So if you have pre-approved fields in Salesforce from the quote or other objects, and you don't want people to be able to change it at this stage, you can lock that information down. You'll see an option here for MSA. Like I mentioned, we're allowing sales to work within certain guardrails. A lot of our customers are moving to hosting their terms and conditions online, especially for smaller deals, and allowing an offline MSA or actual terms and conditions to be sent for larger deals where it's more likely to be negotiated. So we'll stick with online hosted terms here again, just to keep this very simple. Moving down, you'll see my products and services have been mapped over from Salesforce. So this will populate my order form. All that's been locked down and can be hidden from this screen as well. At the bottom, you'll see the ability to negotiate any special terms. A lot of our customers are moving to this format as well. Again, these are pre-approved from legal, so we don't need legal involvement, allowing sales really to self-service. For example, if we're negotiating logo rights with our prospect and we want that to be input into the contract, all sales has to do is click this button here. And then we're pulling in Salesforce information, just helpful for visibility and tracking purposes. So very similar to that NDA use case we walked through, it's just a simple launch form where sales has to fill in just a couple of simple options. Once they get this submitted, it's going to generate version 1 of that contract.
And I know you said like the NDA, right? These fields can be call it like customized, obviously tailored to you. It looks like they're also pre-populated based on whatever you call it, like business rules or configuration you have kind of set up based on when you kind of deploy the integration. And then I guess my other question is I'll say like the when something like this would be deployed. So would a salesperson be going through this kind of workflow typically when they are kind of ready to share the like V1 of a proposal or agreement with their prospect, right? Because then typically that's what they'll be looking to get signed, or that'll typically be what'll get negotiated, redlined, right?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, yes, the fields you see on this screen here are customizable based on your use case and the needs of like your template and information that needs to be populated. The questions can be dynamic and built around your business rules. And then the information that's pre-populated was mapped over from Salesforce. Now, to answer your second question, this can really be like your first draft that you're sending out to your customer. If they negotiate that, you can come back to Salesforce, update that quote, and that information automatically pushes down into the contract and creates a version 2. So you can negotiate throughout this process. Does that answer your question?
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. Perfect. So we'll kick that process off. This is going to generate version 1 of the order form based on the information in that launch form. The sales team is going to have a view directly within Salesforce. So we like to be able to meet teams where they're at. If you have your sales team and your deal desk team operating in Salesforce, then they can review all of this information here. And then your legal team can leverage Ironclad to help negotiate that contract. And there's a connection there. So if I wanted to leave a note or a comment, I can easily do that and it'll go down into Ironclad. So on this screen here, the sales team has the ability to see what stage this contract is in, and that'll update automatically as it moves through that contract lifecycle. On the right-hand side, you can see who it sits with for review and approval. So because I was within all those guardrails on that launch form, we didn't involve legal or any other team here. Finance gave their approval on the quote, and so it just is with me, the salesperson currently. I also can view the document that was created directly within the interface here. So this will show me version 1 of that order form. I can see all of my products and services from Salesforce came in and populated my template, built out these nice tables. And then at the bottom, those special terms were automatically drafted in for the logo rights that we were negotiating with the prospect.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a link here to the product descriptions, or this could be a link to your MSA where you online host your terms. And the sales team can also just email the document directly out from this interface as well. So they really have the ability to operate just within Salesforce. They don't have to toggle between 2 systems.
Yep.
If they need to leave a notice or a comment for anyone, they can @mention directly within the platform, and they can leave a comment here. So if they have additional context or things that they want to leave for the legal team, this will push down into Ironclad as well, so they can collaborate between systems.
Yep.
So with just a few simple steps, adding in a few fields to the form, they can get this quote out to their customer with just a few minutes of time.
And so the is this the screen that we're looking at here, is this a like some sort of custom object in Salesforce with these various stages that are attached here? Is that what we're kind of looking at?
Yep, so this is all part of the Ironclad and Salesforce integration, part of that Ironclad workflow object. And this will update in real time. Those are based on the Ironclad stages there at the top.
And are those stages adjustable at all, or is that defined by the integration as well, or can that be call it customized?
Ironclad has set stages in the UI, so create, review, sign, archive, but you can also track custom stages on your workflows if you'd like.
Yep. Okay. And you said for this one, since it didn't have any of the different like it didn't have anything special or unique in it that needed to be approved outside of you, the salesperson who was sending this. So if you hit approve, is that when it would get sent out to the contact or the prospect that you want it sent to? Is that right?
Yeah, so I could send it in draft form simply by emailing this document out. If I approve this, then it moves to the sign phase. So it then could be sent for signature. So approvals have to be collected before something can be sent for signature. We do integrate with e-signature solutions. So like DocuSign, Adobe Sign, whatever signature solution you're using. So this one has been prepared and can be sent for signature at this point in time.
Yep. So if we just wanted to, as a salesperson, if I just wanted to send the PDF or the doc version, just as an FYI, I could by clicking the buttons that you showed previously, and then once I was ready to send for signature, I would just hit the approve button, and then it would take us kind of here.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And
where do those? Yeah, you mentioned the like some of the app mentions and like the chat kind of comment stuff. Is there any integration back to things like Slack or anywhere else, or where do those like where would notifications and things for that kind of live?
Yeah, so the app mention that I showed over here in the chat box goes directly to Ironclad. but notifications can go outside of the platform as well. So email notifications, if you've been looped into a contract and need to approve it, if something's been signed and sent back to you, you can get notifications around that. We do also have an integration with Slack. So if you wanted to receive those types of notifications via Slack, you have the option to set that up as well.
Cool.
Now, the other option that I wanted to go through here is maybe we do get a request back from our customer to redline that MSA and we need to get legal involved here. And that's really when the Ironclad platform comes into play. So as sales is making those requests through Salesforce, they're still coming through to this Ironclad dashboard. So legal can understand what's being requested from sales, when do they need to get involved, and they'll get notifications on that. If they click into one of these workflows from their dashboard, they can see what's going on. So there's visibility throughout the entire process. Now, let's say the counterparty comes back and says, we actually want to negotiate those terms and conditions. We don't just want to agree to what's online. We can always come in here and edit info. And we see that same form that we saw when we were in Salesforce. And I'll just select offline MSA here. And then I'll make a comment here at the bottom just to gather information. So we'll update that information, and a couple of different things are going to happen here. Ironclad's going to generate a second document, and that'll be our master services agreement with those terms and conditions housed here. And then here at the bottom, you'll see an additional approver was automatically looped in. So now it's me, the account executive, and legal that needs to approve this before this can be sent for signature. Same thing will be visible on the Salesforce side. So if I refresh this screen, I can see now as the salesperson that legal also needs to approve this. So that's based on your business processes, and all of that's happening automatically. So we don't need to ping legal and get them involved. It'll happen based on what's happening in that workflow. Now that app mention that I left here will come down into my audit trail. So the activity feed here is basically your audit trail for this entire process. Who requested the contract? Has it been sent out to the counterparty? Any back and forth will be captured there. It's also a great place to collaborate amongst team members. And so now I have the order form that was generated, and then I also have the MSA. So our master services agreement has also been populated. Once this is negotiated, these two items will be sent out together in one signature packet, but it gives you the ability to negotiate them separately.
And does the negotiation occur within the Ironclad platform, or does it need to happen offline through, again, a series of like red lines and other edits to like Word docs?
Yeah, so we give customers the option to choose how they want to negotiate with their counterparties. We have something called Ironclad Connect, in which you can invite your counterparties into this limited instance of this workflow, and then you can edit directly within the platform here. So Ironclad sits on a native docx editor, allowing you to make red lines, comments, changes directly within the app. So I can come in here and add information, and it's creating that audit trail on the right-hand side. Your counterparties could be invited in here to collaborate with you like that. You also have the ability to send it out directly from the platform. So you can email it out from Salesforce or email it out from Ironclad. When you email it out, your counterparty will receive an email, and they can just edit and redline as they normally would. I'd say that's typically how customers are using the platform, just because that's what counterparties are more comfortable with. They don't have to log into a system. Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to email those documents out here, I can do so just by selecting where I want that to go, choosing which document I want to attach. You can include comparisons between two versions if you'd like, or you can send out a PDF if you don't want to encourage red lines. Any red lines that they send back will automatically be captured in the platform. So down here in the activity feed, they can just add that new version to the documents that they have here.
Cool. And so if we did do it offline, like you said, and received a redline version back, we would just need to upload that, or if they emailed us back to that with the email, with what the Ironclad email address on it, would that automatically get uploaded here, and then the legal team would be able to automatically see the red lines that were in that version?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I just shared out that email here. I sent it out to my counterparty. When they respond, it'll come directly back into the platform. If for some reason they bypass that email, you can always forward emails directly to this workflow as well. The goal there really is to keep everything centralized and maintain visibility so that if you and I are collaborating on this workflow, I don't have to wonder if someone sent it just to you or just to me. I can see that it's here. And then all they have to do is add it as a new version. And then it will track changes, even if the counterparty hasn't had track changes turned on.
Yep. Very cool.
And that's done through the version comparison here. So we made one simple edit before, but if I toggle on track changes here, this will show me any changes that were made inside or outside of the platform.
Yep.
All right, so then once approvals are collected, again, this is when this can be routed for signature. It'll automatically move to that sign step, and you can send it through Ironclad for signature. So because it's on your template, those signature tags are already placed, and it'll go out through that integration with whatever e-signature solution that you're using. Once it's sent back to Ironclad, it'll automatically be stored in the Ironclad repository. And again, you can send it back to Salesforce if you'd like as well.
And then just to confirm, you said you do integrate with all the kind of e-signature providers, but there's not e-signature capability that's native in the Ironclad platform. So you do need a separate e-signature provider along with Ironclad. Is that right?
Ironclad does have a native e-signature solution. So if you wanted to leverage that, it's totally an option as well.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right, so the next piece that I wanted to touch on is really around what happens post-signature and how do we leverage that information. Were there any remaining questions on the workflow piece?
So I know, I mean, obviously, so we looked at Salesforce and the integration there. I guess I was curious, are there other CRM integrations that you all support? Naturally asking about HubSpot mostly.
Yeah, so Ironclad has an open API. So we do have the ability to integrate with solutions, even if we don't have native integrations with them. We do have a lot of customers that integrate with HubSpot as well. And we have a partner that has the ability to help with that integration as well and make that a more out-of-the-box experience.
And then you mentioned Salesforce CPQ. If for folks out there that might be using Salesforce, but like a third-party CPQ provider, like Conga or Subscribe or Monetize Now or Cashflow, right? There's a bunch of kind of third-party solutions that are out there. Is there I guess is all the, call it all the functionality and stuff kind of similar, regardless of whether you're using Salesforce CPQ or any of the other third-party CPQs, as long as it's in Salesforce, I guess, where the integration and the stuff is happening?
Yeah, most of those are talking to Salesforce already, or it's an object in Salesforce. And you can leverage our native integration with Salesforce if that's the case, the same way we did today. So if that information is there in Salesforce, really optimal and can easily set up that integration. Of course, if it's not talking to Salesforce already, you can, of course, create a different integration there, but really the easiest way is just to leverage the out-of-the-box one.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And again, Salesforce CPQ might be called Salesforce CPQ, but it's essentially just like any other third-party CPQ.
Yep, that's it.
when it comes to Salesforce, so that all makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so yeah, you had, I think there was one other use case you wanted to kind of highlight and showcase around what kind of happens post sale?
Yep. So post signature, you can send the information back to Salesforce, but we'll start with what it looks like in the Ironclad repository. So each of these lines in the repository represents a contract. You can sort and filter on all this information based on the metadata that you collected through that whole entire process. What I'm looking at here is contracts that we currently have in place with current customers. And under that status column, I can see those contracts that are set to expire. And it's automatically counting down those days. So this really allows my sales team to be proactive and getting those renewed. I can also see the contract value that's tied to that. We also have what we call contract insights. So the ability to report on all of this information. This is also really helpful for like revenue operations team as they're looking at like renewals or upcoming expirations with customers. So looking at things like where do we have unlimited users within our contracts, or what is our max renewal, and looking at uplifts for the current year and what's going to happen over time. Where do we have legacy pricing in place with customers if we've changed a pricing model? So you can really slice and dice this data in many different ways based on the information that you've captured within your contracts. But this just really helps you visualize that and again, make decisions going forward on how do we want to rewrite these contracts for the next term? How do we want to adjust pricing going forward and different things like that? So really getting the maximum value out of how we're contracting with our customers.
And this is in the Ironclad platform that we're looking at this reporting. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about use cases like, especially now everyone's, like, hey, who's on monthly or quarterly, kind of contracts with us now? How can we move them to annual or even, multi-year sort of agreements? And then one of the other questions that popped up, you mentioned like we looked at some of those like special terms, like some of those like qualitative sort of things. Is there a way to leverage like those data points as well in the Ironclad platform? Like, for example, if I was like, hey, what customers do we have that have all said they, we have logo rights to them, or what customers have said, hey, they're willing to do a case study with us? Because I can easily see a lot of times things like that get negotiated in or out at the agreement, but then tracking obviously like who actually has that, and then even worse, like have we executed on it, can be really, really hard and really challenging.
Yeah, definitely. So in the repository, you can definitely sort and filter on that information. But these dashboards here are based on that repository information as well. It's just a little nicer to look at, but that's definitely something that you can filter on. So looking at an example here, average deal size, average contract value, customer reference. Can we reference them publicly? Yes or no? If you wanted to have some sort of way to track against that, you could add an additional field in there. Like maybe you've listed them on your website, or maybe you've put them in a slide deck that you're talking with prospects about. Could add an additional field in there for those that you've actually used. But this is one showing where it's okay to actually publicly reference them. And then one looking at like total spend by customer account. So any of that data that you're capturing, especially related to those special terms that your sales team may be negotiating, can then be surfaced in your repository for more granular information, or here on these dashboards in a more visual appearance.
Yep. Cool. Makes sense. And then, I guess, was there a couple of other kind of questions and stuff, but before I ask that, I want to make sure that we kind of look at all the kind of all the screens and all the areas of the product that you want us to. So was there anything else on here product related, either in Ironclad or in Salesforce, related to kind of the post-sale use case that you were hoping to hit on?
The only other thing is reporting can also be done in Salesforce. So you can send any of that contract data and the contract back to Salesforce, and you can also surface that information here. So again, for sales teams, deal desk, rev ops who are living in Salesforce, if they want access to that information without leaving Salesforce, you can send it back there too as well. Yep. So if I'm looking at like service hours within contracts or active SOWs, I can track that here. Same thing with like contracts in flight. If you want to see at the end of the quarter, what do we have pending signature? What's the ARR tied to that? That's visible here within Salesforce as well. So that's kind of my final point, is you really have the ability to surface that information in both platforms.
Yeah, that's cool. That was one of my questions, is whether or not the Ironclad reporting that we looked at was available in Salesforce, and sounds like the answer is yes.
Yes.
And so thinking about who is like who's typically a good fit for like for the Ironclad sort of product. Yeah, I guess my question is like, what sort of companies, either like types of companies or maybe company sizes, like what are some of the things that might tell someone out there in RevOps, sales ops that's looking at this like, oh, hey, you're a good fit for our kind of product solution? Is it one of those things where you need like, hey, if legal is getting involved in 50% of your contracts, if if you're negotiating every single deal, or maybe does that not matter? Is it like, regardless of whether you're not negotiating or you are negotiating every deal, like what are some of the characteristics, right? Industry, company size, deal types, things like that might indicate someone out there in RevOps or sales ops is a good fit for the Ironclad product.
Yeah, great question. Ironclad, like I mentioned, is really contract agnostic. So we have companies in the SMB space who are very small, all the way up to companies like L'Oreal, DoorDash, MasterCards of the world. So it really is tailored to be able to fit any business size. And we also span a lot of different industries: tech, manufacturing, healthcare, you name it. We probably have a customer in that segment. I will say the integration and really the RevOps use case is great for companies who are really just looking to streamline that process. So I talk to a lot of customers who have that really manual process where it's like sales is requesting us to draft their contracts, and then they just kind of throw it over to legal to handle the negotiations, and we're negotiating all of our MSAs, or we're even agreeing to a lot of customer paper instead of our own. So if they're looking to make that transition to more of a self-service for their sales team to be able to move quicker and have legal just focus on those higher value added activities and only get involved in those higher dollar deals, I'd say that's kind of a sweet spot for RevOps and sales teams, is really looking to streamline that process. So there's not really like a one size fits all. It's really meant for anyone just looking to make that process better, I think.
Yep. And I know we talked about like integrations back to Salesforce, the CRM. We talked about like the e-signature capabilities, how you have the ability to integrate with essentially any e-signature provider, or you have native capabilities there. Are there any other kind of core integrations on like the RevOps sales ops side beyond that we didn't mention? And then I guess separate from that, is there anything that like you don't integrate with that is important for folks to know?
Yeah, so our out-of-the-box integrations really are e-signatures. So like DocuSign, Adobe Sign, I think it's Box Sign now, or Ironclad e-signature. We have integrations with like document storage. If you wanted to send your contracts to a document storage solution, our other out-of-the-box integrations are Salesforce, Coupa, and OneTrust. And then we have customers that integrate with a lot of other solutions as well. So Jira or things like Power BI to get additional insights. And all of those things can be done through our open API. So those, of course, require a little bit more for development than an out-of-the-box integration would. But really with that open API, you can really integrate to anything upstream or downstream from your contracting process.
And then when it comes to return on investment, and I'll ask this in this question in two phases. One is on the value side. How do your customers typically define or look at value? Is it revenue growth, new revenue generated? Is it time saved by the legal team, time saved by the sales reps? Like what are some of the ways that you've seen your customers define value? Maybe some of those problems they've come to you with that you've solved. How do folks look at the return side of ROI?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think time efficiencies is a very clear and obvious one with Ironclad, right? Moving to more self-service, only looping in approvers when absolutely necessary. Something that we're focused on at Ironclad in terms of ROI is really contract value leakage. So gaining those insights into your current contracts and really being able to action against those. So looking at things like cost reduction and efficiency, risk mitigation and compliance. So that could be related to audits or just making sure you're compliant with the terms of your contracts. Supplier and vendor management, understanding how you're contracting with different customers or vendors as a whole. The ability to optimize working capital. And I think maybe perhaps the most relevant as it relates to RevOps in the conversation today is really revenue optimization. Really identifying opportunities within contracts to maximize revenue, such as negotiating terms, upselling, cross-selling, ensuring billing and accurate pricing with your customers. So we're really looking at that overall contract value leakage and making sure you have a complete understanding of how you're contracting with your customers and really where you can go out and optimize that revenue. So I think, yes, time savings and efficiencies is huge, giving legal back some time, but also really focused on those pieces as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Even just some of the stuff we talked about before of knowing, hey, who's on a 3-month or maybe a 6-month term, and how can we, move them up to, 12-month term, or even looking at, hey, like who is on maybe a multi-year agreement with us. All those things, especially in today's age, are important and critical. And a lot of times it can be hard, really, really hard to even answer those questions before you even try to figure out, like, okay, let's focus on now, how do we move them from 3 or 6 month terms up to 12-month terms?
Right.
Lift to even just get there. So yeah, that makes tons of sense. And so if that's how we look at the value side of what you all deliver, then obviously there's the investment side. So what can you share with us on kind of pricing and how you all work, either like, specific pricing you can share, or even just like how you charge, so folks can get a sense of like, hey, is it a flat fee? Is it based on how many contracts we produce every day? Is it based on how many users we have? What's the kind of the pricing model set up for y'all?
Yeah, so pricing really depends on your use cases and the number of users that will be leveraging the platform. So there's different packages to get you started, different tiers, and of course, reach out for more specifics around pricing if that's of interest.
Yep. And when it comes to implementation and getting started, how quickly can folks kind of get set up? Is it one of those things that, again, self-serve can be managed by them? Do they need help or support from your team? What does that look like for people?
Yeah, Ironclad is a no-code platform. So really anybody can implement this with basic understanding of the platform. So we have customers that self-start and completely get going on their own without any involvement from people at Ironclad. So we have great resources out there for people to be able to do that. We do also have an implementation team and then different packages of support that we provide through that implementation process. So we have customers that get going in 60 to 90 days right out of the gate. Others, of course, might take a little longer. We're willing to work at your speed. And of course, that depends on the complexity of your use cases. But I'd say a good average is 60 to 90 days to get up and going.
Okay. And last question before I ask you how folks can get in touch. If you had to pick, call it, one key differentiator that kind of sets Ironclad apart from one, all of your competitors in the space, but even two, just like the manual way of doing things. And I'll challenge you even more, like maybe like 1 or 2 sentences to describe the one key differentiator to folks in RevOps or sales ops for Ironclad. What would you say that would be? What would your answer be to that question?
I think our Salesforce integration is really something that sets us apart from a lot of other CLMs out there on the market. It's something that our team is really dedicated to maintaining and updating on a regular basis to make sure that both teams can work simultaneously and really make that as efficient as possible, really cutting down on the back and forth and manual effort required. So I think that's something that's highly flexible, very easy to set up and maintain, and really is something that a lot of our customers are finding tons of value in today.
Awesome. And then, last thing for anybody who is, kind of watching this, wanting to kind of learn more or see if Ironclad might be a good fit for themselves, how can they kind of get in touch with you and maybe get their own demo or try the product out for themselves?
Yeah, so if you head to our website, ironcladapp.com, you can request a demo and we will get you connected with the right person to get you a demo, try out the product, whatever you want to do.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, Caitlin, I will stop peppering you with questions. Thank you for kind of showing us around the Ironclad product, for demonstrating some of the use cases and stuff. I can see tons of ways that this would have helped me in my kind of past life leading RevOps and BizOps, and I can see tons of value for folks in our community as well. And I love the fact that we are both recovering CPAs and accountants, so I'm just going to throw that in there one last time. But with that, I will let you run. I will let everybody else run who was watching this. So thank you all for taking a peek. Go and check out Ironclad for yourself. And if you're interested in other product demos that we've done, just check the website. We've got a bunch of them up there. But with that, I'll let you run and we'll see you on the flip side. So take care, everybody.
Thanks so much.